Morning, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the CMS user group meeting or the payroll user group meeting. Excited to be here with you today. We're just going to get a minute to kick off. We have about 170 people joining. So let's just give it a second before everyone comes in. Hope everyone's doing well. Great to be here with you on a Wednesday morning. Looks like it's going to snow. Morning, everyone. We'll just give it one more minute. We have about 170 people, 180 people joining us. So we're just going to give it a second for everyone to come in. So thank you for your patience. Hope everyone's doing well and having a great morning. Good morning to those who are joining. Just give it a second for everyone to come in. We have about 170 plus people joining, getting close to that number, and I'll start it in a minute. Thank you for your patience and understanding. People rolling in. Just give it one more minute. Thank you, everyone. And then I'll kick it off. I'm getting close to the 170 plus mark. So just give it an opportunity for people to trickle in. Glad to be here with you this morning. Looking forward to this great presentation as always. Morning, everyone. Let's give it one more minute, and then I'm going to kick it off. Okay, let's get started. Welcome, everyone. I'm happy to be here with you today. Welcome to the March edition of the CMS User Group webinar. Next slide, Karen. I am your host, Stacey Hogue, and I am the Relationship Manager at the Office of the Comptroller. I'm very happy to be here with you today. Let's get started. A few things to note. The chat function has been disabled. You are all on mute. However, after the presenter is done with their section, you are more than welcome to ask questions in the Q&A feature. The Zoom webinar is being recorded. The recording will be sent out with the slides in this week's edition of the CTR Weekly Update, which will be going out this afternoon. Those who are not able to attend will be able to listen to the presentation. We are also offering closed captioning for this webinar. You can change the font size or not receive closed captioning by clicking on the closed captioning button icon on your local toolbar, which should be located at the bottom of your screen. Next slide, please, Karen. I will now walk through the agenda. We have the calendar year wrap up with Kevin McHugh, Assistant Comptroller for Payroll and Payments. Business Enterprise System Transformation, BEST, with Tringer Bumgarner, Change Management Business Lead. We have Remote Worker with Eduardo Canton, Statewide Payroll Officer. Massachusetts Smart Plan with Robert Young and Kyle Kroner from Empower Retirement. HR Payroll Announcements with Eduardo Canton. Qualified Transportation and Flexible Spending Accounts with Victoria Manley. DFML Dashboard with Kevin McHugh. What's New with Mary Holland from Metro Credit Union. Payroll Reminders with Eduardo. And to wrap it up, Payroll Close Open Timeline with Kevin McHugh. Next slide, please, Karen. Now I'm going to turn it over to Kevin McHugh for calendar year-end wrap-up. Kevin, floor is yours.
Next slide. Next slide. Hello, everybody. So, well, too far. One back. There you go. So as we do each year, we show the W-2 amounts for HR CMS. The big takeaway here is that, you know, we are supporting over $5 billion worth of payroll each year. That in that volume of activity, there's a lot of work that's done by you people and ourselves. And this particular year end was fairly routine, which is always a good thing. Not having something that jumped up at the last minute, whether it be like back a few years ago about the changes in the federal taxes and those kinds of things. The total employees down the bottom is a bit of a qualifier on that. You have to remember that, you know, calendar year 20 and 21 were pandemic years, and that student employment is a secular kind of workforce, meaning that, you know, in those particular years, while we would call the non-student workforce remained steady, the number of students getting paid in those 2 years had a slight decline, and it's reasonably notable. Next slide. So, you know, in the last bunch of years, we try to cut down the number of paper forms we send out. 43,000 people opted to go paperless. I don't know, we actually went out and killed any trees, but we certainly would like to get the number of paper forms much lower than that, because we sent out 65,000 paper forms. And as you can understand, that's 3 pieces of paper for every person. I believe that's quite a few tons of paper. Next slide. Response time here is great. All right, so ACA, Affordable Care Act filings. Again, we need to report our ACA full-time employment to the IRS. There's 2 major things to know about the purpose of these forms. One is that it determines whether or not there are any employees in the Commonwealth that were ACA full-time, and we did not offer health insurance, and we did not have a safe harbor. A safe harbor meaning, you know, they're eligible for Medicaid, or there's a bunch of safe harbor pieces of that. The second part of that is we're required to provide health insurance to 98% of our workforce. And as you can see on this, we met that criteria. They call that the big penalty. We've never gotten to the big penalty. Just to give you see the page before. The other thing is, even though we mail these out to all our employees, they have no direct impact on employee tax filing. With that said, the fact that we cannot get more people to suppress their ACA, I think next year we'll need to try a more aggressive campaign. We did get 5,000 more than we got the year before. Hopefully we can do better the next time. Next slide. Is it only me that can't see these things? Okay. Again, there's a slide saying, how much paper, was used for this. All right, next slide. Here's pictures of some forms. Next slide.
So any questions for Kevin, please put them in the Q&A. Please do not put anything in chat. Any questions for Kevin? And thank you, Kevin, for that presentation. I think it might be on your end, the delay. So we apologize for that. Sometimes it takes a little while for the next slide to catch up in Zoom. Any questions for Kevin, please put it in the Q&A. So Kathy O'Brien made a comment. Any thoughts to make the process easier?
For ACA?
Yeah.
As far as getting people to suppress their forms, or
W2 suppress, Kevin. W2 suppress, you just clarify.
okay. Now this is, the IRS requires that the employee acknowledge that they want it suppressed. If it was up to me, I would just suppress everybody and then turn on people who need it. But that's not the law.
Okay, thank you very much, Kevin. Anyone else for Kevin? Just give it 1 second. All right, doesn't look like it. I think we are all set for the next topic. So next up is Business Enterprise System Transformation BEST project with Trinja Baumgartner, Change Management Business Lead. Trinja, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Stacy. Thank you, Kevin, Eduardo, and Karen for providing this opportunity to connect with our HRCMS user group. Good morning, everyone. Next slide. So I'm here to give you an update as to where the Business Enterprise Systems Transformation project stands. Next slide. So as you know, we spent the last year, the last 8 months, doing procurement with an evaluation committee and some subject matter experts. In the end, the executive sponsors determined that the systems integrator bidder did not meet the minimum scoring threshold, which was established prior to the start of the evaluation process. Therefore, because the systems integrator bid is intrinsically connected to the software bid, we had to cancel both of the RFRs. So we canceled those in February, late January, and then immediately posted our intent. The BEST team posted their intent to release another RFR. This one will be an integrated RFR comprising both software and systems. So the teams will have to present together, the vendors will have to present together their concept for going forward. So we are busy writing the new RFR and getting ready to post it. We do not have a date at this point to post it. Next slide. So we're not just working on RFRs, we are also updating our website. So our website has been redesigned if you want to go out and take a look at it. We've put everything kind of on the front page so it's easily accessible for you. And our website is mabest.org. So mabest.org. Next slide. The other things that we are working on are data management. As you all know, we are currently working with 2 systems which have a ton of data in them. And we're going to need to move that data forward or have that data accessible for the next system. So we are continuing to work on master data management. We also did a lot of accessibility testing, and we are letting you know that accessibility is not an afterthought with this program. It is first and foremost, and we are making sure that we are getting a good software for our assistive technology users. So that is the update from the BEST program. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Trinja. Any questions for Trinja? Please put them in the Q&A. So Trinja, could you explain what the systems integrator means and how is it separate from the software?
Yep. So the systems integrator is a third party that is separate from the software. So right now, like I can use today's terms, right? HR CMS is a PeopleSoft software system. That is one thing. The systems integrator, which we use, which we did use like in 2010, 11, and 12, when we moved to self-service time and attendance, was Accenture. So a systems integrator is a group that works between the business and the software to design the right solution for those things that need to be configured, customized, you know, those things. So that's the difference.
Great, thank you for that, Trinja. Any other questions for Trinja?
Thanks all. Have a great day.
Thanks, Trinja. Good to see you. Take care. Next, we have remote worker with Eduardo Canton. Eduardo?
Thank you, Stacey. Good morning, everyone. It's always a pleasure to be here again. I'm going to be presenting a future functionality remote worker, and there will be a brief pause as we are going to show a very, very short video. It's about 6 minutes and 10 seconds or so. Karen, please.
Okay, so I'm going to kick Karen out from sharing, everyone, and I'm going to share my screen right now because I actually have the video ready to go. So just be patient as we transition over.
Thank you, Stacey.
Thank you.
PeopleSoft now offers a remote worker feature for managers, administrators, and employees, which includes employee self-service, configurable approvals, adding attachments, and Kibana visualizations. Let's see how an employee can submit a remote worker request. Log in to the employee self-service homepage and click the remote worker tile. Here, you can see a list of remote work requests or create a new request. Click the Add Request button. Enter the start and end dates of the remote work request. If you don't know the end date, leave that blank. Identify whether this request is for working fully remote or if it will be a hybrid situation of working part-time from the office and part-time remotely. The remote worker pages use an activity guide to provide you with the flexibility to configure the steps needed for your organization. For example, the guideline steps can provide you with details about your company's policies for working remotely. Add an image, include instructional text, add a link to a policy, or even create a video to watch. You can create an agreement tailored to your organization using the acknowledgement framework. If you don't need an agreement, you can easily delete this from the activity guide. The Request Details page shows details about the remote work request. Here, you can enter information such as the reason for working away from the office and the remote work location. Using the Page and Field configurator, every organization can determine which fields are required or remain optional. If you select Home, the system shows your home address from your personal information. Select Other to add a location that is not your home or workplace. The Workplace option allows you to choose from available company offices, since some employees choose to work from an office location closer to home, rather than commuting into the corporate office. The percentage value helps to identify the amount of time you will be working remotely. Organizations can use this to assist in determining taxing implications for exempt employees that work remotely in different states and localities. It's important for the manager, administrator, or payroll manager to verify the accuracy of the percentage value. The hybrid option enables you to determine details about the days you work remotely. You can select average days per month, per week, or specify a daily schedule. You can select the days that you're planning to work remotely. It's important to note that the remote worker is not a scheduling or resource planning system. It provides your organization with an estimate of which employees will work remotely and when they will be working remotely. Employees that work fully remote do not have the option to complete the percentage or remote days, as they're working every day and 100% remote. You can add supporting documents or notes to the request. The attachment framework drives this page. Using the questionnaire framework, the organization can request additional information. For example, you can enter equipment details, internet access, and verify other requirements for a successful workplace environment. In the final step, the system summarizes all the information collected. You should review the details before submitting the request. Your organization can set the approval process up for managers, administrators, or even a payroll manager. The approver uses the approval pages to approve, deny, or push back the request. Now, let's see how a manager gets into the remote worker request details submitted by the employee. If approvals are turned on, you'll get a notification that the request is waiting. The approver can link to the notification in the right pane or use the Approvals tile. Click on Remote Worker and select the request to approve. Here, you can see important information about the request, as well as job details for the employee. You can approve, deny, or push back the request to the employee. The Remote Worker feature uses the approval framework, which enables you to make configuration changes to meet your organization's approval requirements. Managers and administrators can complete a remote worker request on behalf of an employee. The administrator can edit or delete a request as needed. Select the employee from the list, click on the Add Request button, enter the start date, and click Next. The employee acknowledgement and workplace support are not included for the manager or administrator, as this is normally completed by the employee. But since this is an activity guide, your organization can determine the steps that are relevant. The Remote Worker Configuration page enables you to provide the approval and request reasons by regulatory region. The Remote Worker Insight visualizations are created for the administrator to analyze the details of the organization's remote workforce. The ability to visualize information in charts and graphs is much more powerful than viewing raw numbers. These metrics show you the total number of employees and the subsets of fully remote, hybrid, and on-site employees. But with the pie chart, you can instantly see that almost half of your employee population is fully remote and less than a quarter of your employees work on-site. You can also quickly analyze the location of your workers. Here, you can see many of your employees work in a different office building. The Remote Workers by Department analytics shows how each department is handling remote working. How many employees are fully remote, on-site only, or working as a hybrid remote. This helps you to understand coverage and even a glimpse at office space allocation. This donut chart helps your administrator analyze the percentage of time that employees anticipate working remotely, while the bar chart indicates the most popular days for hybrid staff to be off-site. As with other Kibana analytics, you can select a filter at the top or an item in the visualizations and dynamically change the view of all reports. This helps you to view the data in multiple ways. At the bottom of the dashboard, a grid shows a list of employees that meet the selected criteria. The links take you directly to the employee job data or the remote worker details. In today's labor market, providing workers with the option to work remotely is a critical retention strategy. Tracking the activity is also critical to the management of work, assignments, and even understanding office resources. For more information, go to peoplesoftinfo.com.
Okay, Karen, you are all set to share your the slides again. Thank you, everyone, for your patience.
Thank you, Stacey.
Transition that over.
Next slide, please.
So are we done with that section, Kevin? I mean, Eduardo, we're good with that
Yes,
section?
we are. I just want to say briefly, there are no, this is actually part of an initiative by HRD and CTR to look at new features and functionality every quarter and see what we can implement. And this is one of the features that we're looking into it right now. I don't have anything at this moment to provide any information, but there is more to come. So please stay tuned.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that. That was a great update. Thank you so much. And now on to Massachusetts Smart Plan with Robert Young and Carl Kroner. Take it away.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Next slide, please, Karen. I brought my cohort along with me this morning, Carl Kroner. We figured we could give you double the information, double the enthusiasm for the SMART plan. Just a reminder, Carl has been with the plan as long as I have, and we work together to help support you and support your employees. My focus is primarily on your employees and their accounts and saving for retirement and developing a strategy. And Carl works very closely with the Treasury and the Comptroller's office, as well as all of you in the cities and towns that we work with. So welcoming him back to this presentation, and he's going to speak about a couple of our slides. Today, we're going to talk about the new limits, which I introduced at the last meeting, a couple reminders and a couple minutes for questions. Before I begin, though, just obviously we're going through a challenging year so far with the markets and everything that's happened in the world. Please let your employees know that it's very easy to reach us and very easy to set up a meeting. That's what we're here for. We're here to help your employees. We're here to guide them through turbulent times like these and to look at potential solutions and to, again, make sure that strategy is sound going forward to retirement. So, please have them either email our office, email their advisor directly, go to the website and click on the map, set up an appointment that way. We are moving back out to see people live when you are ready for that. So if your office is still remote, obviously we're not going to go there. But if you're live and your employees are back in the office and you're comfortable having a visitor, we more than welcome that opportunity to see everyone again. I'd say right now we're probably about 10% of our meetings are live, so we're still kind of gradually moving forward in that direction. But please invite us if you're interested in that. So next slide, please, Karen. So just to review the limits again, that was increased for everyone. So everyone contributing to the plan now can contribute up to $20,500. Anyone born in 1972 or earlier can do an additional $6,500 for a total of $27,000. Again, this is for any of you that are new, this is built into your system. There's no need for you to make any adjustments. It's all taken care of automatically in HR CMS. The special catch-up limit is double the regular maximum, so it's now $41,000. And again, that comes through the notification process that I reviewed on our last meeting through that monthly file. You all have just done a phenomenal job with many things, but catch-up is one of them. Very few refunds through the Treasury this year. You all are just can't thank you enough for your dedication to this process. And obviously, with more and more people retiring and utilizing the special catch-up program, it's been such a pleasure for us to be working with you and have such a low level of errors and refunds. Next slide, please. Just a couple reminders. I wanted to go over the termination process. We've been getting a lot of questions about that again. Obviously, we know many of your employees are leaving for a variety of reasons, but mostly retiring. But I want to just review that process and how we're communicating with your employees through our call center and here in Massachusetts or here in the field. And Carl's going to speak briefly about the Plan Service Center again. Next slide, please, Karen. So just a reminder, all terminations are done through HR CMS. There's no notification to Empower, no letter needed. You don't go into our system to put the term date in. It's all done through HR CMS. We have, as we've discussed in the past, make revisions to that file and updates to how we process those termination dates. And occasionally we may have a glitch or two. So please notify us if there's a delay or there's somebody missing. They should have had a term date and they didn't. The alias is down there at the bottom. It's very easy to remember. Actually, I forgot to update that. You can drop the dash retirement now. We are empower.com. After a few years, we're finally able to use that domain, but either one works. But empower.com is our email alias now. So, but please reach out to us if you're having a struggle or your employees having a struggle with that termination date. I realize there's some communication issues sometimes with our call center and trying to get that termination process efficient, but trust me, they're doing the best they can. We're doing the best we can, and we just need to work together to get that uploaded as quickly as possible. Just a couple reminders: if the person has an open job, I'm speaking primarily to the colleges and universities. If they have multiple jobs with your location, they all need to be closed. And if they have jobs in other locations, so if they work full-time at Mass Bay and part-time at Framingham State, they both need to be terminated before that full termination comes over on the file. 960 employees are still employees. So if they come back and they're employed by the Commonwealth in any way, they do not have eligibility for those withdrawals because they're still employed. So it's a part of the conversation that needs to be had when they leave. We're happy to have that conversation. But don't forget, again, as part of the CARES Act that came out a couple of years ago, anyone over 59 and a half can take a withdrawal. So if somebody comes back to work and they're still active and they want to take a withdrawal, they could probably do it through that feature. And again, please reach out to us with any challenges you may be having with this whole process. Next slide, please. So Carl's going to talk a little bit about the Plan Service Center and your access.
Thanks, Rob, and good morning, everybody. Good to be here this morning. Hopefully everybody on the call has PSC access so that you're able to receive the monthly file that contains the employee contribution changes, any employee contribution changes that were put into the system in the previous month. And when you get that file, it's up to you. You can print it, you can just view it, you can download it, whatever you want to do, whatever works best for you. But it is available on the first of each month or the first business day of each month if the first of the month happens to follow on a weekend or a holiday. So we certainly urge you to go into PSC at the beginning of each month and open that file, because that will have all the information concerning changes relating to your employees. We're hoping that you also have more than one PSC user in your office. If a PSC user leaves, then it's important that that person's access is then taken away as well, and that their password is terminated. If you need assistance with that process, you can certainly contact our alias that you'll see at the bottom of the screen, smart@empower-retirement.com. And next slide, please. It's just as important then to get a new person also added. It's generally a good idea to have at least two authorized users for PSC in case somebody's out on vacation or whatever, so that at the beginning of the month they can still go in and access that report and process those contribution changes. Any updates can be sent to Ashley Nelson at the email address listed here. And what they generally need is their department, their employee ID, their phone number, and their email address. So again, if you have somebody that's leaving and that person's being replaced, please do let us know, and so we can get them set up with PSC access. And again, it is a good idea to have at least two individuals listed for PSC access so that they can download and view those reports. Again, if you have any questions on the process, you can contact us through the alias that was on the previous slide, and we're certainly more than happy to try and help and assist you to walk you through that process. Next slide.
I see we have some questions coming in already, so
Yeah, we have tons of questions coming in.
I'm gonna take the easy ones, and then the difficult ones are gonna go to Carl. So go ahead, Stacy.
All right. Well, I like that plan. So, sorry, Carl. When do you receive the file and how often? And this is regard to terminations.
We've had that question, I think, almost every meeting, and I know that's a work in progress with Carl and our service team and Kevin and his team. And I think the goal, or I think recently the file's been coming over weekly, and I think that's our goal. Occasionally there may be a delay on one end or the other, but I think that's been pretty consistent this year as a weekly file.
Great, thank you. Is term with pay status acceptable, or does the employee need to be final termed?
That's your question, Carl.
Yeah. Thanks, Rob. Generally, we need to have a final term date on the system before somebody is eligible to take a withdrawal from the plan. The IRS generally says there has to be a distributable event, and that means that if somebody's leaving, there has to be a termination date. They actually have to be termed.
Great,
So-
thank you. Can you explain the OBRA withdrawal process? Several employees have difficulty accessing account balance after terminating employment. There seems to be a disconnect with Empower receiving the termination date. Does the agency have to notify Empower directly?
You want me to take that one, Rob? Or,
No, I can do that.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of questions in that one question. I think OBRA is not any different than a full-time employee. I think the challenge with many OBRAs is what I discussed earlier, that there's multiple jobs out there, and that can tend to be missed at times. But no, the process isn't any different. And I think if you and your specific agency or department or college are having some challenges on a more regular basis, please let us know, and we'll take a look at how that's working. But again, I think it mostly has to do with the multiple jobs. In occasion, a file just not connecting well with us, but I think we've done, really well with OBRA, just as it's the same consistency as the full-time. It's just that most OBRA employees have multiple jobs.
Okay, so thank you for that. And just a reminder, everyone, given the crowd size, please do not put questions in chat. Please put them in the Q&A so we can easily manage. So next question, do you know if there is an issue with the February 1st email that goes out to payroll administrators for the February report? I never received it. I was able to get the report when I got my March 1st email, but the changes to the contributions were delayed on my end for the month of February.
I'm not sure if I understand the question completely, but I think the question is, are we still getting emails notifying us that those changes are out there on your file? And I know we have had a couple challenges with the email, and Carl and I are looking into that, and we can work with our service team. If you're not getting the monthly email, please let us know. I think we're all changing our emails pretty frequently. I'd ask you all to look in your spam or your junk email folder to see if it went in there, because it does come from a variety of aliases. One is at retirementpartner.com, and that it may not have gone to you directly. If you just simply didn't get it, please let us know. We'll have to change the parameters on your profile. But please, I know you have a lot on your plate, especially at month end and the beginning of the month, but I would just simply put a reminder in your calendar, first business day of every month, to just go in and look in the file, whether you have records or not. I mean, most of you do. And I think it's just a good practice to go in there and take a look at it, even if whether you got their email or not.
Great. And Lindsay just clarified, I got the March email, just not February.
Yeah, I that seems unusual. Maybe, again, that seems very unusual, but please keep us informed.
And again, somebody put a comment in the chat, please put it in the Q&A. I did not receive an email.
Yeah, please let us know.
Yeah,
And just yeah,
go
email
to-
us. Yeah.
Directly. Yeah, that's the best option to solve
Yep.
that. Can we process a quick enrollment form as soon as we receive it, or do we need to wait for the monthly file, which will likely be delivered the following month?
I can take that one, Rob. The IRS guidelines for a new enrollment, there is a first of the month rule. So if somebody enrolls, say right now, their first deferral can't actually happen till after April 1st. So you would want to wait until you get that deferral file. In the case of somebody enrolling in March, you'd want to wait till you get the April file.
And that's one of those laws that is consistently looked at every year in Washington. And we hope that that first of the month rule will get changed. It's been in place since the 70s. And I think it's time for an update. But right now we do have to follow that. We have to follow that rule like Carl just described.
Great, thank you. Is there a separate email phone number to contact OBRA with termination fund withdrawal issues?
The email alias is the best way to get your questions to us. You certainly can contact our website support team to see if there was an issue with the payroll being processed, but I don't think that's the best solution. I think handling it locally is best, and we can work directly with our service team to see why that person wasn't on the file, and if they were, why wasn't it picked up? OBRA, and again, OBRA is not any different than full-time.
Great. So 2 more questions and a comment, and then we'll move on for the sake of time. An adjunct faculty member received an email from their campus union rep that they can withdraw their OBRA funds when they are off contract in between semesters by requesting HR to change their employment status for OBRA only. Is this being done? The guidance in the past has been that withdrawal is based on resigning, not expecting to return to employment.
I saw that comment earlier. I haven't heard that one in a while. I don't think I've heard that one since the pandemic started. Here's my response. Carl and I would love to speak to your group if you're still getting together, the higher ed payroll group or the higher ed HR group or however you all are getting together these days. And I'd like to discuss that with you all. The answer is if there's an expectation for that employee to return, then that person is not terminated in our eyes, in the IRS's eyes. That is our official response. And I know that there's a lot of different practices going on with each of the colleges and universities based on their relationship with the union. So I think on a recorded line, it's probably best to have a more informal conversation later with one of us, but that's the official response. If there's an intention to return, they are not terminated.
So nice comment from Donna. Empower reps have been amazing working with employees remotely. So thank you for that. Always like to hear that.
Thank you, Donna.
Thank you.
I have been having issues updating my work email address, but the option is available for updating the personal email. Are we having issues with employees updating their email address on the website?
That one's yours too, Carl.
Yeah, not so much a website issue, but the way the plan is set up is only the employer can change the employee's work email. An employee can always change their personal email, but the employer has to change the employer email.
And we're working on that file, and with a collaboration between the comptrollers and the Treasury and us. So right now the answer is no, but keep asking, and we're going to keep working on that.
Okay, not that I find everyone's questions not important, but for the sake of time, we have 4 more, and then I'm going to cut it, and then you have Robert and Carl's contact information where you can contact directly. So where can we find a new enrollment OBRA form?
Right on the website, mash-smart.com, mass-smart.com. It's right there, but please email the alias if you need to, we can send you a copy.
Okay, and Dover mentioned I am an employer administrator and I cannot change my email address.
The same
Yeah,
thing. If it's
same thing.
if it's a work email, that's a challenge right now for us. But if it's a personal email, you should be able to change it.
Where can I find the Smart Plan online enrollment flyer with the plan enrollment code?
Oh, that's a great question. I haven't had that one in a while. If you're logged into our system that Carl was just mentioning before, the Plan Service Center, and you go to the left where it says participants, I believe, and then click on that arrow, the Forms tab. Click on Forms. It's the last one or the second to last one, and it's all of our forms are on there, as well as that code, that flyer with the code.
Great. Many times you got thank you. So thank you for that. So 2 more and that's it. Many times we've been asked by employees that I'm sorry, I can't. Many times we've been asked by employees at the request of Smart Plan customer service to advise the Smart Plan of the employee's email and contact information. What is the process on our end to handle these requests?
I'm not sure if I understand that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I understand that one
Yeah.
either. So
But
is there a
if you could send us an email with that question, we can take it
Yeah.
offline and we
Yeah.
can delve into that. We'd be happy to delve into
Yeah.
that further with you.
Yeah.
So is there a protocol to alert Empower retirement that a former employee's contribution is listed on my monthly feed? The employee hasn't worked for us for 3 years and her change was listed on my March 1st feed.
Yeah, that's an interesting comment. That's come up very infrequently. What happens is that person may not be terminated. So the best way to manage that is to make sure that they are fully terminated. Sometimes when the participant chooses the auto increase function, so they've asked us to increase their contributions every year for say 5 years or 10 years. So obviously you'll get that increase on a regular basis if they're not terminated. Occasionally that may be that they went back to work somewhere else and didn't change their code in our system. That may be why you're getting it as well, and you're just not aware that they moved on to a different employer. But again, contact us with those because
Yeah,
those
and
are
they
important for
transferred,
us.
just to clarify, not to cut you off, Robert, they transferred to another state agency. I just got clarification on that.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, I mean, you can email us and we'll email that other agency, or we'll fill out a new form to change that.
Okay, great, thank you. 2 more and that's it. How long does it take for an employee's address to be updated with a Smart Plan if they've already changed in HR CMS? There seems to be a lag, going back to the address thing.
Yeah, there often can be a lag of a few weeks. Somebody changes, you put that change into HRCMS, then we might have to wait for the next HRCMS report to be sent to us, which
Yep.
could be a week, a couple weeks, but usually it's a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it
Right.
should be, yeah.
Great questions, everyone. And this is the last one. When an active employee dies in service, payroll needs to know the beneficiary on file per the HRCMS handbook. Is this the beneficiary on file with the retirement board or elsewhere? If MSRB, they refuse to release the Benny on file name until they understandably receive the death certificate and verify the Benny is on file, but this may take a month or more. MSRB Survivor Benefits Unit is not familiar with this Comptroller rule.
That seems like an MSRB question. I mean, I can talk about the Smart Plan if they're related at all, but it's a great question. Anything that have to do with someone who's deceased is important that we manage it properly. If someone is deceased, an active employee, their beneficiary needs to call our call center. We have a special team that works with those instances, and we will work with that beneficiary immediately if that's who is on file. It gets a little tricky, obviously, from privacy level. it's not the same person, or if it's or nobody's listed at all. But again, you can contact us for more guidance on that. But in terms of the retirement board, I'm not sure how they manage the beneficiary process. You'd have to speak with them about it. And Stacy, I did see someone was asking about the DOC. Please reach out to me or the Smart Plan. We'll be happy to help. Obviously, every facility has a different advisor, but the headquarters is managed by Eileen, and I hope you know that. And we'll work with you on making sure somebody's connected with each facility.
Great, thank you. Kevin, do you want to chime in?
I do, thank you. So we've had the State Board of Retirement come to payroll user group meetings periodically, because as new people come in, they don't understand all the processes. So I think what we'll try to do is have the State Board of Retirement come in on the June PUG. But if there's something specific that you want us to look into, just log a ticket with Eduardo. That'd be great.
Great, thank you so much for that clarification. Great questions, everyone. Really appreciate the
Yeah, these were
engagement.
fantastic questions. And
Yeah, they
please,
were
please
excellent
don't wait
questions.
every 3 months to ask them
Yeah,
whenever
no,
they come up.
I can tell you that Robert and Carl are most welcoming of questions, so we greatly appreciate that and appreciate the partnership.
Thank you all.
As do we. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day. Nice to see you both.
Thank you.
Now on to HR payroll announcement. I'm going to turn it over to Eduardo. Eduardo?
Thank you, Stacy. Next slide, please. All right, I'm going to talk about a few functionalities in HR CMS, things that have been rolled out recently. And the first one is actually the health and safety. This functionality allows employees to record and upload their COVID-19 vaccination records. There is actually a tile in employee self-service, as you can see on the screen print on the right-hand side of the slide. And you simply log into your employee self-service and you have the tile literally in front of you. Cannot miss that. Employees are actually able to create a detail for each dose of the vaccine and also upload a photo of the vaccination card. There is actually something that we're currently working on. It'll be a functionality that it's going to be added, or I should say a feature added to the functionality. It is the ability to add a booster shot, and that is coming up soon. Don't have a date yet, but it is coming. Next slide, please. The health and safety vaccine module. This functionality will allow the ADA coordinators, diversity officers, and health and safety coordinators to enter approved exemptions, whether it's medical or religious. The health and safety coordinator will be able to view who has reported a vaccination or employees who are outstanding. Anyone that hasn't submitted that vaccination status, they'll be able to see that. This secure module will only be available to a limited number of designated users. Next slide, please. Actually, before I get into the immunization details, I want to mention a little bit about the health and safety coordinator. It's a new role that was created as we rolled out this functionality, and it allows a third person, the agency, to have visibility to the records. There is actually a form that can be found in the Knowledge Center, and anyone at the agency that would like to have that role added needs to fill out that form and send it to an inbox that's stated on the form. And what it does is actually CTR has a shared inbox with HRD. Any forms coming from the executive departments will be approved by HRD. Anything coming from non-executive departments will be approved by myself, and it gets turned on. Next slide, please. Actually, nope, sorry. So the immunization details, it allows the coordinators to view, pull a report of anyone that has already added the vaccination details. And you can see a screen print and the navigation, how to get to the immunization detail. You go to Commonwealth of Mass Health and Safety, and immunization details is very simple. You enter the business unit, the department ID, and you hit refresh, and it'll give you the details of all of the employees that already submitted their vaccination records in your department. Next slide, please. Maintain telework. This functionality enables core users to manage telework status information for employees. It is actually a great feature for departments to track your employees who telework, number of days per week, month. It also captures approvals and denials. If you want any more information, just make sure you go into the Knowledge Center and look at the job aid. If you have actually, once you get access to the slides, you can click on that hyperlink, the Telework job aid, and it'll take you directly to the job aid. Due to the increase in teleworking, the team is currently working on a mass update to assist departments in entering telework information. Next slide, please. And you can see, how to access that functionality in HR CMS. From the main menu, you go to Workforce Administration, Job Information, Maintain Teleworkers. To your left, you actually see a screen print of the employee's telework status. And to the right, you're going to see the agreement. Next slide, please. Talent profile. This is actually the last of the functionalities that I'm going to talk about. And this functionality enables employees in self-service to update their education, honors and awards, memberships, and tests or examinations. Employee is also able to add attachments to that. Now employees and core users can add attachments. The license and certifications will remain view only. Right now, there's nothing you can do about license and certifications. You can also use the CAW for your reporting needs. The employee job aid for talent profile is also located on the Mass HR Employee Service Center website, and the guide for viewing and updating personal information. To the right, you have a screenshot of the functionality, the tile in the employee self-service, and there's also a screenshot of the honors and awards, anything that you can actually have available, things to add again, except for the license and certifications that is not currently available. Next slide, please. Self-service online paycheck view with private pay period details. I apologize. I thought that I was done, but I do have another functionality. Any prior pay period adjustments will be now indicated on the right-hand side. When you go into review online paycheck, you're going to see that, again, this hasn't gone live yet. It will be going live shortly, but it will actually give the employees an option to look at the details of any pay period adjustments that have been done. As you can see on the screen print, this example is going back to 2020. This would actually go back to, I believe, since HR CMS came live back in, I wasn't here, but I believe it was the year 2000. So employees right now, they can only see what's on their pay stub, but often employees don't understand what they're getting paid for, especially when it comes to prior pay period adjustment. This will actually give it very detailed. So as you can see on the screen print, it'll show the check date, the pay beginning date and end date, net pay, and also will give you the check number again. If you click on that prior period adjustment to the right, it will give you all of the details of that adjustment. Next slide, please. This actually allows the users to see the prior period details from, what I was talking about. And you can see going back to 2020, the employee had a reimbursement, miscellaneous reimbursement. And you can see to the right that it's showing the total 116.63. And that is actually pops up once you click on that link to the right. Down below, you actually see a copy of the self-service paycheck. Again, it doesn't show, it only shows the details once you click on that link. Next slide, please. Questions?
Thank you, Ricardo. We have a few questions that came in. As a payroll administrator, can I update employee immunization detail, or is it only self-service?
That is it. I believe you can as an administrator.
Can employee opt out of the health and wellness title? I'm sorry, sorry, my apologies. Let me state this again. Can employee opt out of the health and wellness tile?
Well, the tile is already there. If the employee doesn't want to do it, the employee doesn't have to do it. But opting out, I'm not sure what that exactly.
No, So you got the answer correct. The tile is there. It's been there for at least a month. So opting out would mean they don't use it. Now, having the department required it to be used, that's a whole different subject. Not the purpose of this is the functionalities there. Departments need to determine how they wish to use it, or employees can do it on their own.
Thank you for that. Will PPAs be visible to administrators as well, or only on the employees' screens?
That functionality is only visible to the employee. So if I have a prior period adjustments, going back to 3-4 months, only I can see it. I'm guessing the question is, as a core user, can I go in and look at one of my employees' paychecks and see that prior period adjustment in detail? The answer is no.
It's kind of a maybe. So today, most core users uses paycheck summary, and it's a very busy page, but each line is, and dates for those lines are on the paycheck summary, but that's not what employees see. So yes, you can see it, but just not in this particular location.
Ginger, did you want to comment? I saw that you raised your hand.
Haven't answered it.
Okay, great, thank you. The employees being able to see their prior period adjustments is awesome. Thank you for that feedback.
Thank you.
Are all agencies required to use the health and wellness tile? Our agency is using co-verified.
Like Kevin mentioned, you do not. The agencies actually, they determine how to use it, whether to use that functionality or not. Again, this was actually in response to Executive Order 595 to the executive departments, and then it allows the employees to do this, and they can, departments can actually track this through ACA CMS. As far as the department opting whether to use it or not, that's up to the departments.
Okay. And for those who are attending the meeting, please type your comments in the Q&A. And this, will HR be able to upload the COVID vaccines for employees that have already been sent in?
Upload meaning if there's a need for a mass update?
I don't know.
If they did it outside of HR CMS, and that I'm not sure about the question, but it sounds like they track the vaccination outside of HR CMS and they'll like to do a mass update. Not sure.
That's what it sounds like to me, but Lillian, can you clarify? Yes, mass update.
Yeah, reach out to me, whoever asked that question. The only thing about the mass updates that just to clarify about the mass updates, we're not able to update any attachments.
Okay,
But I can actually talk about that offline. Whoever asked that question can reach out to me and I can talk a little more about that.
Okay. Lillian, just reach out to Eduardo and he can talk to you more about it. Thank you so much for that question. Thank you, everyone. And on to the next topic, please. So next up, we have qualified transportation and flexible spending accounts with Victoria Manley from Benefit Strategies. Victoria, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone's having a great day so far. Next slide, please. So this is the list of agenda items for the flexible spending accounts. As you can see, there's quite a few of them, so please bear with me. Next slide, please. Open enrollment is right around the corner. Like last year, it will all be online. No paper forms will be accepted, and there will be no exceptions to this. For the 2023 plan year, open enrollment will be from April 6th through May 4th. Participants who elect to participate in the 2023 plan year will have a final allowable service date of 9/15 and a final filing date of 10/15. I would strongly suggest reaching out to your participants and explain to them they should review any of their EOBs, explanation of benefits, any pharmacy copays, daycare or summer camp bills, basically what was spent in the prior year's election in order to select the right amount that fits their needs. Next slide, please. During open enrollment, all enrollment reports and ongoing plan information will be emailed to the one GIC agency coordinator listed in Magic. In order to receive the most up-to-date information regarding open enrollment, please make sure coordinator information in Magic is current. During open enrollment, the listed GIC coordinator will receive a weekly email with an attached report, which will show participants who have enrolled. Please be sure to carefully review each report you receive to ensure the participants listed are GIC benefit eligible and active members of your agency. Participants can update their selections as many times as they like during open enrollment. Therefore, what you see listed on the weekly report may vary. If you find any discrepancies at all, please, you'll need to send those to our data services team, and their email address is right there. Next slide, please. Ongoing payroll audit process. This is the same process that is currently in place. If there is a $1 or more discrepancy with someone's deduction or deductions, this will result in the account being placed on a payroll hold. This means no claims will be paid, no debit card transactions will be allowed until the coordinator verifies a correction has been made. It is extremely important to communicate all those changes with data services should they reach out regarding a discrepancy by responding to their emails. Next slide, please. So the 2022 plan year will be ending on June 30th. Participants will have until September 15th to spend down any unused funds, dates of service prior to that date. They'll also have until October 15th to submit those claims for reimbursement. The maximum dependent care or DCAP election amount is set at $5,000 for the current plan year, as well as for FY 2023. That means that the maximum for biweekly deduction is $192.30. You want to be mindful of this, especially if you have a participant enrolled mid-year as either a new hire or due to a qualifying event. The IRS maximum for the HCSA will increase for the upcoming 2023 plan year. Those who elect the IRS max will now be able to select the 2850 for July 1st. Next slide, please. The new hire form is to be filled out by all new employees that wish to participate in the HCSA or the DCAP benefit. Participants must fill this out within 21 calendar days of their date of hire, or it will not be processed. The GIC coordinator listed for your agency will receive a confirmation email once the form is submitted. Please ensure you are verifying all information is correct before entering into your payroll system. If there are any discrepancies at all, please reach out to our data services team. As a reminder, if a participant is enrolling as a new hire, there is a 60-day waiting period for the HCSA, and the DCAP benefit has no waiting period, and it's effective date of hire. Next slide, please. Should a participant experience a qualifying event and need to make changes to their election, they must fill out the status change request form. This form must be completed and submitted within 60 calendar days of the event taking place. Once it is submitted, the GIC coordinator will receive a notification email with instructions on how to approve or deny the request. Please review the information within that email prior to submitting your response. You will be required to upload supporting documentation to correspond with the event. For example, birth of a child, we need a birth certificate, or if marriage is selected, then a marriage certificate will need to be uploaded. We will not make any changes within our system until we receive your approval and supporting documentation. In the event the participant is reporting an unpaid leave, it is very important to have that status change submitted as soon as possible. The participant is planning on the direct bill or prepay option in order to use their HCSA benefit while on leave, then the status change form must be submitted prior to the leave start. It is also equally as important to submit your denials if the form is not accurate in informing the participant as to why you denied the request. Next slide, please. Coordinators also have the option to report the participant's start or end of leave of absence. Once you know a participant will be taking a leave, you should discuss all options available to the participant prior to the beginning of the leave of absence. When reporting the start of an LOA, if the participant wishes to be direct billed or prepaid for their unpaid LOA, again, the form must be received prior to the start. That's the same as the status change. This form is not in place of the status change request form. The participants still have the ability to submit that form on their own to report the LOA start or end. This is for coordinators and does not require supporting documentation or an approval. Once you submit the form, a notification email is sent to the participant informing them of the submission and the information you provided. Multiple forms may be needed in the event the LOA transitions from a paid to unpaid or vice versa. Next slide, please. The payroll refund and reclassification request form is required for all FSA refunds and reclassification requests. This must be submitted by the coordinator and not the participant. Examples of when this form should be used are if a deduction is taken from a final paycheck, which is paying up vacation time, or if a coded deduction is decap, the member is currently enrolled in HCSA, or vice versa. All requests are sent to the GIC for their review and determination. When submitting this form, please be sure to give in-depth details of the case or risk the request being denied. Please also be aware that all decisions are final and there's no appealing the GIC's decision once it is made. As the coordinator, it is your responsibility to notify the employee of the GIC's decision. Do not stop or adjust payroll deductions until the GIC gives their approval. Next slide, please. Should a participant leave state employment, they should be submitting the status change request form prior to their termination date. But if they did not, then the coordinator can submit the coordinator termination form. Again, this is only to be used after the employee has left their position. If they are still employed, their last day of work is in the future, then the status change form is needed. As a reminder, once an employee terminates employment, their debit card is shut off and they will only be able to submit manual claims for services incurred on or before their last date of employment. Next slide, please. Like last year, the FSA 101 will be a pre-recorded presentation located on our website. The presentation will be available the week prior to the start of open enrollment and throughout the open enrollment period for participants to view at their convenience. Next slide, please. Stacey, are there any questions for the first part of this?
Yeah, let's take a look. Let's see. If you update your beneficiary paperwork with the retirement board form and mail it to the retirement board, will this information be shared with GIC, or doesn't look like this is a question for you?
No.
Right, there's two unrelated questions. We'll follow up on those. Are the FSA maximums per household or per employee?
So the DCAP maximum, the dependent care maximum, is per household. The FSA or the HCSA, the flexible spending, that is per individual, the $2,850.
Okay. And Eduardo, if you want to answer, there's two questions in the chat. If you want to type your answer in for the first one, that's great. And then I'll follow up with the second one. Okay, looks like we're good.
Actually, Stacey, I tried, but I couldn't. I wasn't able to. But I'll follow up. One of them is from Gino. The other one, whoever answered the question about the tax tables, you can send me an email and I'll respond to you.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. Thank you. Thanks, Eduardo. All right, looks like we can carry up. Hold on, there's one more. How can employees receive a refund for qualified transportation deductions they do not get to use during COVID?
So typically, refunds are not given because the commuter benefits do roll over month to month, year to year. But if there are, if you want to email me, we can discuss the situation, and I think I can give a little bit more in-depth detail.
Great. Okay, great. Thank you so much. It looks like we can go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacey. So now we'll discuss the commuter choice programs for the Commonwealth. Please go to the next slide. So the Commonwealth Massachusetts commuter choice plans have their own dedicated page on our website. We strongly encourage everyone to utilize this page as much as possible. You will find the member login information, the FAQ, commuter claim form, process calendars, and the election form here. Please remember everything is online for this as well. No paper forms will be accepted of any kind. Next slide, please. So the election form must be submitted if a participant wants to enroll, make a change to their deduction, or to stop their deductions. When a participant is submitting the election form, please encourage them to review the process calendars beforehand. If they are looking to make a change for a specific month, benefit strategies and yourselves need to receive this form by a scheduled date in order for the update to be processed. If the form is missing specific information, for instance, the participant provided a dollar amount, but the benefit month the change to take effect is not selected from the dropdown, the form will not be processed and you will not receive a communication. If a participant states they submitted a form, but you have no record, please have them resubmit the form. Next slide, please. Here is the FY 2022 transit process calendar. You will see the dates changes must be received for each benefit month. All transit deductions are taken from the first pay period of the month, and those funds are credited to the account on the 20th of each month and are to be used for the next month's transit purchase. As you can see from the calendar, the deadline for April is today. So if anybody wants to make changes to their April election amount, that has to be submitted by midnight tonight. This form will be processed via payroll on the 15th and will be deducted from the paycheck that is on the 18th. And those deductions will be credited to the participant's account on the 20th so that they are able to purchase their April transit pass. Next slide, please. Parking payroll deductions are taken from the second pay period of every month to be used for the next month's parking expenses. Parking accounts are pre-funded on the 20th of every month. As you can see from this process, from the process calendar, there are a few dates highlighted in yellow. Those corresponding benefit months have a deduction pulled after that pre-fund happens. The pre-funded amount is based on what we confirmed on the previous benefit month's payroll file. Once we receive the current payroll file, the pre-funded amount may be adjusted depending on what is reported. For example, if someone elected $250 to start with the March benefit month, but had zero deductions, but had a $0 in deductions for February, there will be a $0 pre-funded. Once that March 4th payroll file was processed, that $250 would then be made available to the participant. Next slide, please. And here's the contact information for myself and for our call center. Are there any questions for the commuter choice plans?
Thank you so much for that update. So any questions, put them in the Q&A. So is there any plans to have employees transfer their parking deduction into transit deduction?
So that actually was allowed last year. That was participants had the option to make a transfer, transit to parking, parking to transit, what have you, through the end of 2021. But once everybody kind of had their schedule solidified, that was turned off.
Great, thank you so much. Any other questions before we move on? Okay, looks like we're good. Thank you so much, Victoria, for that update. Greatly appreciated. Have a good day.
You too.
Next with the PFML dashboard is Kevin McHugh. Kevin?
Here I come. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So I just want to interject here a different topic, and I'm remiss for not having it sooner. Usually we talk about cyber, at least a little bit on these meetings, but I just want to remind people about phishing. And that our requirement is before you change anything that around direct deposit, whether it be for a vendor or a union or an employee, you cannot do it directly from an email. Cannot do it. You have to go get information outside that email to then turn around and contact the employee directly, either by phone or text or from an email that is not responding to the email that you have. The last thing you can do, absolutely cannot do, you will be responsible for changing something based solely off an email. So, you know, I bring that up because it happens so frequent. Fortunately for us at Comptroller's office and for ITD or TSS or whatever we call them these days, and for Treasury and other places, we're like the, you know, we're like the fence behind home plate. You know, do not hope that there's a fence behind home plate because something bad can happen. So again, I say this today because I usually try to make it every payroll use group meeting, but I'm saying especially today because you know the attempt happened again last week, and you know it sends off all kinds of bells and whistles and what have you. And quite frankly, you make a transaction, you own it. So keep that in mind. So now let's go to a happy topic. PFML.
Yes, that's a very important update though, Kevin. Thank you for that. It's very,
I've never been known to be stern. That's my stern voice.
Yeah, it's a very important reminder for everyone. So be safe and always verify. Thank you for that, Kevin.
Okay, you're welcome. So PFML dashboard. And so like many things in state government, especially on the benefits and HR side, there's no one answer that fits every question. But just to give a, you know, like a high level understanding of what goes on, is that DFML and us as an employer, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts as an employer, the assumption that from a tax perspective, we're one big happy employer. And we are. The thing is that we have multiple people participating in the process. So it makes it a little more difficult on our end. And as many of you know, when PFML went live, we hustled around to make sure we got people who are responsible for responding to claims, the claims process. And when somebody in your department files a claim, you'll get an email, and the process is slightly different depending on where you sit. But what I want to talk about a little bit is that there are some improvements that are moving ahead at DFML to make this easier. And so one of them is the employer dashboard. And what that means is that instead of relying on emails, though most people do rely on emails, there is a way for you to go out and look to see what's going on with your employees. It'll tell you if something's due. It'll tell you, you know, if there's a link to their claim. There's a lot of information on it. And so Karen is going to walk through these slides and let folks know how this will all work. Take it away, Karen.
All right. Hi, everyone. So let me go on the next slide. There's some functions, and I will show you later on how it all works. But basically, their ability to see all the DFML claims for a leave administrator. So as Kevin mentioned, we have reached out the non-execs and the execs to provide a list with leave admins and point of contacts that were told to create an account. So in that dashboard, the employer will be able to filter claims by status, You can search the claims by employee name or application ID. An application ID you will receive via the email, as the DFML is giving automated emails if an employee by the agency applied or had an application, or an application needs to be reviewed. So you'll find that there. You can sort claims by recency of application, and I will show you that in a little bit. You can also sort the claims by names, by your agency's employee names, and then you will be able to also see a deadline for each of the claim that you are responsible to respond to it to start the whole process. So this is just how to get access, and I'm hoping that most of you already created an employer account, but on the left side, you can see that if you need to apply for paid leave, you create an account as an admin. If you're a Massachusetts employer, it'll ask you to put your address, your password, and the EIN number. And if you don't know the EIN number, there is a direct link. It is a 9-digit number. It'll tell you exactly where you can get it. But if you have any questions, please reach out to us, and I will just log in on my side and show you how it would look. So I already have my information in, and first you'll have the welcome page. It'll tell you little things like view applications, check your email regularly because that is important. That's how you will get notified if any of your employees have filed for PFML and needs to be reviewed. There's a response application in 10 business days. You can also open the direct link from the email that you get to review the specific application. And on the bottom, there are some additional forms and notices that can help you if it's a certification of a serious health condition or family member. But the most important part is this dashboard that Kevin was talking about. And right here, there's a little filter that you can click. It has the status description. So each application will have either review, no action required. That means that you're all set, and it's just the leave request is waiting a decision from DFML. If an application has been denied for some reason, and there will be also information to why it was denied, approved, and closed. This is this is the place where you search for employee name or application ID, and you're only going to be able to see your agency. So right now you see a lot of results, but that's not going to be on your side. And right here, that's sorting by status. So you can sort by status, meaning that it'll show you the most recent and the urgent ones that you need to be reviewed by. It'll show you the employee name, the application ID, which we also receive in the email, the employer ID number, and when the beginning of the application started, which is important as there is 10 days period to respond to the application. If you would like to see newest application, you can sort it by that. It'll also show you all the statuses that you see on the right side. So you can play around here and really adjust it to what's best for you and how to track it. But this is basically pretty straightforward, but let us know if you have any questions. And yeah, that's it.
All right, excellent job. Everybody give a round of applause for Karen. Nice job.
Nice job, Karen. Nice job. So any questions? Oh, do you have anything else, Kevin, before I take questions?
Nope.
Thank you. So if we can't send M-4 changes by an email attachment, what do we do? Same for DDA changes.
Okay, what are those initials again? Seems
It's DDA changes. So if we can't send M-4 changes by email attachment, what do we do? Same for DDA changes.
so M4 meaning like a tax form?
Talking about the Massachusetts, yes, the tax form.
So if we can't do the changes.
Well, so there's a couple things. So I think the question really is about PII and email. you will need to find a better way to do it. So yeah, one of the ways is have the employees use self-service, but and DDA, direct deposit changes, is that what that is? DD.
I think Tringer wants to chime in. Tringer, go ahead.
Yeah, I think this goes back to the previous subject, your cyber update, and it relates to, we're not saying that you can't submit documents by email. We understand that you're working remotely, but you need to take extra precaution when receiving documents by email to ensure that the person who you believe is submitting it is the person that is sending the document, right? So if you get an M4 change from someone, you should reach out to that employee and say, hey, did you submit this? I don't think there's a lot of criminals going around changing people's M4s, but maybe.
Yeah.
But for the direct deposit, certainly you should be checking with people to make sure that they intend to change their direct deposit. It is the easiest way for a criminal to gain access to a person's money by changing their direct deposit to another bank account.
Donna just chimed in and she commented that ESS doesn't handle M4.
Peter Murphy?
Employee Service Center.
Employee Service Center. Yeah. Thank you, Tringer.
So just want to follow piggyback up what Tringer and Kevin said real quick. This is actually we did, I believe in a previous POG edition, we did do a presentation. Actually, Peter Murphy or Janie might have done it. A couple of things is how you send PII. Now you want to make sure you send that secure, but also when you get that direct deposit form, and like Kevin said in Tringer, just encouraging employees to go into employee self-service and set up direct deposit. There's always a confusion with SSTA and ESS. I often hear we're not an SSTA agency. You may not be, but every single employee in the Commonwealth has access to HR CMS employee self-service. And that's where the employees can go in, update their contact information, direct deposit, their W-4, not the M4, not the state tax, but again, it's being cautious. We also mentioned that at some point, picking up the phone and calling that person may not cut it just because someone had their account hacked and the fraudster sent you a phone number that belongs to that person, to the fraudster. You calling that person, it's going to impersonate the employee. You may even want to take a little further and do a video call just to make sure you're talking to the actual employee. Thank you.
Thank you. Some questions.
Yeah, validate the information from a different system, not from the email. So you go into HR CMS, there's a ton of information on there. You need to ask questions that the fraudster will not know.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Should I be able to see closed PFML claims for my agency from 2021 in the dashboard?
You should be able to see the closed ones if it was applied through the dashboard. The process was done through it, then yes.
Great, thank you. I am having issues with receiving email notifications. There has been times when I have not received the employer required response email at all. There are also times when I get an email that says I need to do something, and then I log in and it says no action required. Wondering why this is happening.
So I can talk about that a little bit. So the no action required sometimes can happen if an employee took back their claim and it was deleted. But in this case, you can always reach out. I don't know if that's a non-exec, you can reach out to myself, Regina Planning, and HRD has their own liaison, and I believe it's at the plan. And we can coordinate between DFML and find out what's exactly happening. And regarding your email notification, same thing. Usually, if you forget your password to log in to the dashboard, the email will get into your spam or junk folder, so please check that. But if there are cases that you've done all of this, please reach out to the liaison and we will work with you directly in the DFML.
Great, thank you. And one last question. Should all employees seeking leave under the PMFL complete an application to the Department of PFML, even if they will be using their accrued time during the leave? Or can an agency keep their own internal records and process the request internally?
It depends, first of all, on the leave as well and what they choose. So to use their accrued time or to apply for the benefit, that is the benefit that's available. Do you have to use it? No, but it's there for you. And there is a process in place. So I would say it is based on the employee's choice as well as whoever approves the leave admin, the PFML and DFML.
Great, thank you so much, Karen.
Short answer is you can't double dip.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So this is not, so for the person just asked that question, I will connect with you directly, but I think we can move on. So next slide, please. So Mary Holland is going to talk about what's new at Metro Credit Union. Mary, welcome.
Hello, thank you. It took me a minute to unmute myself. So next slide. And next slide. As you know, we are the credit union for Mass State employees. I want to talk about some updates that we're going to doing in this March 2022. Next slide. I always want to thank you for inviting me. This is really an honor for us to be able to come and to speak to the payroll people. Wanted to let people know that we are, even in this environment, we are still growing. We have opened some new branches that are currently open. If anybody is familiar with our Burlington branch, our current Burlington branch is now closed. We have moved the branch to 50 Summit Drive, so keep that in mind if you're visiting the Burlington branch. We opened a brand new branch in Reading. It's on 470 Main Street in Reading, so this is great news for us that we are still growing. And we have opened a second branch in Peabody also on 240 Andover Street. So these are some great new branches that we have. Coming in March and April, some of our long-awaited branches, one in Dorchester that we're opening on 960 Morrissey Boulevard. And we're also opening a West Roxbury branch on 1985 Center Street. So hopefully this gives us more access out into that area. Our Melrose branch is the current branch that is in Melrose will be closing down and will be moving like 1 block away to 108 Main Street in Melrose. It's a more modern branch, has a little bit more parking, so I'm sure people will be happy to hear that. And we're also opening a branch in 1 Salem Street, Medford. So this is all good news that we will have 19 current branches for Metro Credit Union by the end of April. So that's some really great news. Next slide. So before I go on to the community impact highlights, I just wanted to mention to people in this current environment, we've been talking about cybersecurity and we do work diligently on this, but our Zelle app, to be able to transfer money, we've restricted the use of that based on some of the things that we know about the cybersecurity. So we're asking people to look at some other ways if they want to transfer money, whether it is through Venmo, PayPal, maybe Cash App. But I just want to put that out there for anyone who has come across this and wondering, why the Zelle app has been restricted. And that is why it was just last week, and it's based on all the current cyber threats that are going on and so on. So just keep that in mind. I always like to come up and talk about some of the community impact and some of the things that we have done. Metro has received an outstanding rating for the Community Reenactment Act for 2021. And really what this really speaks to our commitment to serving our low and moderate income branches. We're very, very passionate about that, our low to moderate income communities. And it's something we're very passionate about. We have some new accounts that work with that. The first one is the Safeguard checking account. This helps people become banked, and we've assisted over 185 individuals in becoming banked. So what does that mean, becoming banked? There are people who, for maybe something in their background or whatever, they're unable to open up a checking account. The Safeguard checking helps the people that are unbanked be able to become banked again. So this is great for people that now want to have direct deposit that were unable to do that. What happens with this product is there's no overdraft allowed. So people are unable to have problems with their checking account. There's no checks issued with this. We will issue a debit card. So the only way they can use it is if the money is actually in there, because there's no overdraft on that. It enables people to be able to pay bills online, to do iBanking and online billing, which if you didn't have a checking account, you were unable to do that. And the direct deposit is huge. So this account in itself, the Safeguard checking account, is one of those that really helps the low to moderate income community if they're looking for some other options and are unable to have a checking account. So if anybody is looking for that, send them either to one of our branches, have them go to our website, and the information is on there. In addition to another highlight on that, we've opened 162 credit builder loans. And the credit builder loan, I think I've talked about this many times before. This is a way to help members either rebuild or establish credit of people that were unable to maybe get a loan or don't have a very good credit rating. The credit builder loan helps you do that by opening up a loan that basically you're paying yourself and putting the money into a savings account, and we report it to the credit bureau for the period of time that you take out on that. So it's a very low cost, nice way to help people do that. And as we give back to the community, we have more than 75 of our Metro employees that serve on all kinds of boards and organizations and donate their time that help support economic development in the area. And we provide a lot of programming to moderate and low income communities and residents, whether it be through our financial literacy programs or different products that we offer to them. So we're very passionate about that. So next slide. So we have a new product that we're putting out there. We're calling the 40 is the new 30. The reason is that this is a mortgage program that is extended out for a 40-year period, 40-year fixed mortgage. Now, I understand that this is not for everyone, but this allows people that maybe could not qualify to get into the mortgage market with the 30-year fixed loan. This moves out the product for 40 years. It gives you some options, especially in this area where everything is so expensive, that people can use this mortgage to do that. It is a fixed interest rate. The rates are for purchases, or and it can be done either monthly or biweekly payments. It also has a low down payment option for it. And one of the things that I say to people when we're talking about mortgage, there's so many ins and outs, and in order to be able to guide you on what the best product is for you, make sure you're always talking to a reputable loan officer, because this is very critical that you make the right decision in doing that. But this just gives people options. It's a brand new product. I don't think anybody else in the state is doing it. And it's something that we hope we have a lot of success on. So again, if there's any questions on that, you can reach out to me and I can send you to a loan officer in your area and they can work through the specifics of what you might want to do with that. So next slide. And I want to just reiterate that I am still available to be able to either come to your location when you open up, or we're still doing virtual financial literacy topics. They're usually about a 1 hour time period where I set the topic up for you and send you a registration form that your employees can log into, and we'll send the access code to them so that they can log into like any of the financial topics that we're doing for that particular day. So if anybody is looking to provide this to their employees or is looking for a particular topic, you can reach out to me and I can set up a time for you, or we can discuss what topics might be best for your staff. And, you know, we're still really working on that. I have a few new topics for this year. A lot of them are the same, but it's they get updated constantly. So even though the topics might be the same, we do have them updated. So next slide. And that is really all I have for today. My information is always on there, mholland@metrocu.org, or you can contact me right through the 800 number at extension 3504, leave a voicemail, and I always get back to people. So again, I appreciate all the information from everyone, and you know, let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Mary. So there are a few questions that came in. Does Metro have any plans to open branches in Western Mass?
At this stage, we don't have anything that I know of that we're opening in Western Mass. The only thing I always refer people to, everything can be done pretty much online. So you can open an account online, do your direct deposit, use a debit card, checks. So almost everything can be done online. But as far as a physical branch, at this point, I don't know of anything that is in the works right now.
Thank you. So when is the West Roxbury branch opening?
So the exact date hasn't been set out there for us. And I do apologize. I've mentioned this many times that the West Roxbury branch was opening up. We had one location, and the location that we had specified actually didn't work out. So they have a separate location, and we've taken over, I believe it was East Boston Savings Bank's location. So they're working on retrofitting it and getting it all set up, but it should be, I believe the West Roxbury is before the end of the month in March. So
Great.
but I don't have an exact date.
Thank you so much. Are they allowed to have their pension check deposit? Would you give them a direct deposit letter since they? Not really sure. Looks like that one got
So-
cut off. I don't know, Mary, if you can
So
translate.
When you retire, you still are able to direct deposit your retirement check into Metro Credit Union. You don't have to deposit your full retirement check. Metro Credit Union is from my understanding, is the only financial institution that you can, it can be used as a partial. So typically the retirement Bureau will tell you, no, you can only send your check to one location, but there is a way to do it that Metro can be used as a secondary. So yes, you can put your retirement check towards Metro.
Great, thank you so much. And one last question, where can we find information on the retirement loan to provide to employees?
So the retirement loan, it's right on our website. If you go to metrocu.org, let me just see so I have exactly where it goes. It's if you go to metrocu.org and go under Mass State Employees, there is a link on Mass State Employees that you can apply right there for the retirement loan for state employees. So how it works, it's a transition from working to retirement. It's 8% APR, and you can borrow up to $10,000. The reason for this loan is to help people through that time period when they retire before they get their first retirement check. And it's interest only for the first 5 months. So it's a very low cost way for you to be able to have access to some funds. And it is only offered to Mass State employees, but it is right on our website and you can apply right off the website. If that's a problem for you, you can go right into one of our branches and they can assist you with that.
Great. Thank you so much for this update, Mary. Good to see you.
All right, great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Next slide, please, Karen. And up next with
please.
payroll reminders is Eduardo.
Thank you, Stacy. Next slide, please, Karen. All right, as we move towards the end of the payroll user group for March, I want to talk a little bit about a few things. When communicating to CTR, it's always important to log a ticket. It ensures that the request doesn't get lost. And if it's team members out, someone else actually can pick up the task, whatever it is. This is also how we track our work. Everything we do at CTR is actually tracked through ServiceNow. So please make sure you always log a ticket. If you don't, then we can end up getting a lot of phone calls. It's actually gonna cause some issues with the timing of what we do, and always make sure that, again, log a ticket. Especially getting email sent to us before we confirm on Tuesday morning, payroll Tuesday. So again, always make sure you please log a ticket. Next slide, please. Logging tickets, and we often see this, that we currently have 2 ServiceNow instances, and we want to make sure that departments go to the right platform to log a ticket. For any HR CMS issues, anything at all that has to do with HR CMS, the ticket needs to be logged in TSS ServiceNow. You can see that there's a phone number there in case you have trouble going into the ServiceNow and logging the ticket yourself. There's also an email address where you can send an email to. Now, any LCM Mars issues, that you go through CTR Solution Help Desk portal, and you can see that the link is there, or you could also send an email to that email address listed on the slide. Next slide, please. The CTR payroll inbox. It is only used for specific purposes and is not being monitored daily. If you have anything urgent, make sure you log a ticket. There are certain things that we do as departments to send certain things to that inbox. If you do not know what they are, always reach out to me and ask. Again, make sure you don't send general inquiries. Next, please. Parking reminders. Employer provided parking. Monthly limit in government center rates have changed. Please make sure you read that fiscal year memo, update 22-15. You can also find on our page, Comptroller webpage. Next slide, please. Student interns and payroll. Always make sure that your student interns are hired and paid through HRCMS. Always please verify the Social Security number entry. And then regardless of payment, type hourly, wages, or stipends, they must be paid through HRCMS. Note that job codes are available for student interns. Next slide, please. When you hire, make sure you do not create duplicate employee ID numbers. Always, again, check the Social Security number entry. briefly.
Sorry to stop you, Eduardo. Kevin, you have your hand raised. Did you want to chime in?
I did. So the student interns, and people get confused between a student intern and students working at a college. And the very specific difference is, right, the student who are enrolled in classes, they're exempt from Medicare. They're not exempt from Medicare if they're not enrolled. And students that people hire during the summer aren't really students. They're really employees. So you need to follow all the employment law. You need to follow minimum wage. So if you're paying a stipend, you've got to make sure that the stipend is more than the minimum wage. And if you, so they're covered for everything else that regular employees get covered for. So they're not exempt from PFML, they're not exempt from UI, they're not exempt from Medicare. Unpaid interns is a very, very rare thing because you have to prove that they get a bona fide benefit from it. Typically, that means they're getting course credits. So again, this comes up every year about this time. People have asked if they can get paid through Mars. The answer is no. I want to just say it again because this is the right time, because this is when people are starting to hire summer interns. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Next slide, please. Massachusetts Emergency Basic Leave, MEPSL. Just everyone knows it is coming to an end effective March 18th. Only a couple of weeks from today. We are going to retire those TRCs, FFESP, and FFMXA that is used to offset anyone going over the cap. Please make sure that any hours that need to be entered are actually done, so you do it by March 18th. Next slide, please. System profile issue. It's crucial to have a correct preferred email address to ensure notifications are successful. Often emails are missing and employees, don't get notifications. Always make sure that you make sure you spell the email correctly. Look out for periods, comma, spaces, etc. Always validate that you have the most up-to-date email address in the nation CMS, and then to your right, you can see a screen print of the gender profile information where you can enter the email address. Next slide, please. Use SLUs. As some of you know, there has been few announcements that the executive departments will be extending the use SLUs for calendar year 2020 and calendar year 2021 until January 14, 2023 for vacation and personal time. Previously announced deadlines for calendar years 2022 and 23 use of LUs time have not been changed. Those remain the same. It's always recommended to all departments to review the current personal vacation plans. Next slide, please. Questions?
Thanks, Eduardo. We have a few questions. Thank you, everyone. So again, if you have questions, put it in the Q&A. So general HR CMS question, are employees able to reset their own password through SSTA if we are not supported by ESC? They are able to click forgot password, and have security questions set up that they are prompted to answer, but they do not seem to receive the email to reset the password when they follow these instructions. I am able to reset for them, but this would be helpful for our overnight shift employees.
So I believe the department is not supported by ESC. They actually come through us for help. So any department out there that is not supported by ESC, they need to come through CTR for help.
Okay, great, thank you. I submitted a ticket incorrectly and was told to go to LCM Mars section to log my HR CMS ticket. If it is possible to use the LCM Mars to log in an HR CMS ticket, then perhaps adding HRCMS in front of LCMRs might be an easy fix.
The question was kind of long, and I believe the first thing they asked is that they logged the ticket incorrectly in the platform. Is that?
Yeah, let me read it again. So it's a little confusing. I submitted a ticket incorrectly and was told to go to LCMRs section to
Okay.
log my HRCMS ticket. If it is possible to use the LCMRs to log an HRCMS ticket, then perhaps adding HRCMS in front of LCMRs might be an easy fix. So Matt, why don't you, that's a little confusing. So why don't you?
It is a bit confusing.
Oh, Kevin, do you?
Yeah,
ahead,
I get what they're saying. So it is, I'm going to guess whoever told them to log it to CTR, it was because of a tax question, not so much a, so maybe if we change the, so first of all, it doesn't say that, it just says solution desk for the CTR website. It doesn't say HRCMS or LCMRs. But if it's a tax question, right, or it's a W-2 question, or it's an ACA question, even though it's generated from HRCMS, that is a Comptroller business area. I can't think of any other pieces of questions that there is any kind of like crossover. You could always log them in both places and hope for the best. That's a joke, by the way.
Thank you, Kevin. So I thought MEPSL was extended until April 1st.
It's all, yeah, it actually, whichever came first, running out of funds or that deadline, but we did run out of funds. That's why it's coming to an end sooner than the April 1st date.
I think, Kevin, you're on mute if you want to
Kevin,
chime
you
in.
muted.
Maybe I didn't want anybody to hear what I have to say.
Um,
So I can add a little bit of detail to that. So the law did say $75 million or April 1st or whatever comes first. It also said that DOR needs to notify employers 15 days prior to ending the program. And so it got a little confusing near the end here. We went beyond $75 million. Legislature gave another $25 million to get through it. So what that means is that the program ends, employees' eligibility for this time ends on the 18th. That's all it means, right? There's no more money to piggy bank. Us as an employer were notified the 15 days before. So that's why we're telling people now it ends.
Okay.
That helpful? Maybe.
Yes, it seems to be helpful. So one comment that chimed in is that the 18th or 15th. Mass.gov says 3/15.
I think I put the 18th mostly because of the pay calendar.
Yeah, and a lot of people are asking to clarify the end date.
Yeah. Okay, I will let me find the notice and I will make sure of the date.
Okay, so Kevin's gonna look for the notice. So will we be able to receive the lose-use report for this year in June rather than the normal September timeframe so employees can plan their vacation and personal time for the summer?
Yeah, we can run the use lose in June again. That shouldn't be a problem. A report, I mean.
And then just for a comment about the SST password reset, they should make sure that my system profile and email address is correct. Okay, and then we just have another comment, which is great on there. And I think we are good to move on. Next slide, please, Karen. Okay, great. Now that we are approaching close open, Kevin McHugh will provide the all-important payroll close open timeline. We're saving the best for last. Go ahead, Kevin.
Oh, payroll accounting is so much fun. Next slide. So as you know, the Comptroller's office provides a myriad of instructions about opening and closing a fiscal year. It is a big deal for the office, and we do put out for all departments a calendar of events. It's a little early to give this to departments, but since it doesn't change incredibly much year to year, I'll give you a preview. Next slide. So before June 1st and before we do a fiscal year roll, if you plan to do some new chart of account elements, new units, new divisions, new districts, whatever the program code, if you plan to do that and you want it to roll into the next year, you need to do that before June 1st. You should at least know what your plan is. You need to file with our team here at CTR to make certain changes on chart of account elements. Come June 1st, we will roll all the position rules, so you can request new 23 rules. For those who are new to payroll accounting, position rules is our way to make sure that the appropriation the person gets hired into is used for payment, unless there's a rule in place that allows them to charge a different account. And charging the different account happens in LCM, not in HR CMS. Payroll holds over 25K. We'll need A&F approval for executive departments. The A&F sends out the late encumbrance memo sometime in May somewhere. So the details on that will be there. So remember to check the official close open instructions. Next. Pay end date June 18th, the last payroll of the fiscal year. Our advice to departments: get as much of your HR or as much of your bonuses or anything else that you want to charge fiscal year 22 to occur in that pay period or earlier. So you're not dealing with the special processing of split year payroll. Split year payroll is ending July 2nd, which means that there's one business day in that 2-week period. So 90% of the split is fiscal year 22 and 10% fiscal year 23. June 30th is the last time you can enter a payroll hold. I say that with a half smile. For those people who've been around a long time, they know I'm having a half smile. Last day for PRV cash cutoff. So if you've got an overpayment and you want to have your refund occur in the prior fiscal year, you need to get your money in the bank by July 1st, which of course is before the split year payroll. The other thing to remember is that July 4th is a Monday before payroll. So that's a very fun kind of idea if you're doing payroll, especially a payroll that is complicated. So it's my way of asking you people to plan ahead because otherwise you'll need to come in on July 4th and watch the fireworks from Ashburton Place. July 1st is the beginning of the new fiscal year. Next slide. Accounts payable. So accounts payable is the period of all the prior period adjustments you need to do for fiscal 22 payroll, right? If we're really good, we wouldn't need accounts payable payroll. We pay people on time and that would be the end of it. But If we can't, you have 3 payrolls generally to catch up for anything that should have been paid in fiscal year 22, but had not occurred before fiscal year 23. Of course, they need payroll holds, and you're gonna have to justify why you were late in paying people. Next. Mass rules roll. I mentioned that before. There will be a memo that goes out and tells people how to actually process these requests in LCM. They will be sitting out there in draft form ready for you to do. That way you don't actually have to type in all that information. They'll be there ready for you if you plan to do the same thing in fiscal year 23 as you did in 22. Next slide. Be careful when rehiring people, you know, especially around object code and units. You know, if you're doing that in a new fiscal year, and that appropriation or unit doesn't exist in the new fiscal year, it will not work. Next. Any questions?
Questions for Kevin? Put them in the Q&A. Thanks for that update, Kevin.
Okay, you can ask any question you want. Don't have to be on payroll accounting.
Everyone's quiet. We'll give her one more minute.
There was once a king that was 12 inches tall. He wasn't much of a king, but he was a pretty good ruler.
Ha. So any early retirement incentives?
Doubtful. I think you got pre-retirement incentives in the bonuses and pay increases. Typically, you know, early retirement is usually a way to do cost savings. I don't expect in today that that we are in a tough budget area.
Oops, somebody is calling.
It's somebody calling me and I'm proving my age. I can't figure out how to turn it off.
So if we enter payroll manually on Mondays, how should we handle this for this fiscal year close July 4th holiday? It usually creates a lot of PPAs.
Well, there's 2 things, and I get it. That you know, so you have 3 months to, well, almost 4 months to kind of figure this out, right? So if you're a department that does all your approvals and all your work on payroll Mondays, I don't have a good answer for that. You know, do it on Sunday, do it before the pay period ends. Again, if you do PPAs, you're gonna then also require payroll holds to do it in the following payroll. So there's like, you're gonna have a lot of work in one area or the other if you don't pay people on time. So my advice to you is make sure you have a plan on how you're gonna make sure people approve time. Dynacash is not the first option.
Exactly. So thank you for that. And Heather said, Kevin, thanks for the humor. I do have one that might top Kevin. Why do eggs tell jokes? They crack each other up. So why don't eggs tell jokes? Because they crack each other up. I have to say, I thought mine was funnier than Kevin's. We did that this morning. No offense, Kevin. You can get me you can get me tomorrow.
Put it in the chat. Who's funnier?
Yeah, put it in the chat. We won't judge. Humor is very important in life. You gotta make yourself smile. Okay.
Alright.
So any other questions before we call it?
No?
And we have a nice thank you slide. Thank you for that, Karen. So thank you very much, everyone. We really appreciate it. Thank you for the presenters and thank you to all of you or the attendees. The recording and the slides will be made available later this afternoon. Have a great spring and we will see you in June.